Throughout Cambodia's long history, religion has been a major source of cultural inspiration. Over nearly 2 millennia, Cambodians have developed a unique Khmer belief from the syncretism of indigenous animistic beliefs and the Indian religions of Buddhism and Hinduism. Indian culture and civilization, including its languages and arts, reached mainland Southeast Asia around the 1st century AD. It is generally believed that seafaring merchants brought Indian customs and culture to ports along the Gulf of Thailand and the Pacific en route to trade with China. The Kingdom of Funan was most probably the first Khmer state to benefit from this influx of Indian ideas. History. The Golden Age of Cambodia was between the 9th and 14th century, during the Angkor period, during which it was a powerful and prosperous empire that flourished and dominated almost all of inland Southeast Asia. However, Angkor would eventually collapse after much infighting between royalty and constant warring with its increasingly powerful neighbors, notably Siam and Viet. Many temples from this period, however, like Bayon and Angkor Wat, still remain today, scattered throughout Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, as a reminder of the grandeur of Khmer arts and culture. Cambodia's unparalleled achievements in art, architectures, music, and dance during this period have had a great influence on many neighboring kingdoms, namely Thailand and Laos. The effect of Angkorian culture can still be seen today in those countries, as they share many close characteristics with current-day Cambodia, architecture and housing. The Angkorian architects and sculptors created temples that mapped the cosmic world in stone. Khmer decorations drew inspiration from religion, and mythical creatures from Hinduism and Buddhism were carved on walls. Temples were built in accordance to the rule of ancient Khmer architecture that dictated that a basic temple layout include a central shrine, a courtyard, an enclosing wall, and a moat. Khmer motifs use many creatures from Buddhist and Hindu mythology, like the royal palace in Phnom Penh, use motifs such as the Garuda, a mythical bird in Hinduism. The architecture of Cambodia developed in stages under the Khmer Empire from the 9th to the 15th century. Preserved in many buildings of the Angkor Temple, the remains of secular architecture from this time are rare, as only religious buildings were made of stone. The architecture of the Angkor period used specific structural features and styles, which are one of the main methods used to date the temples, along with inscriptions. In modern rural Cambodia, the nuclear family typically lives in a rectangular house that may vary in size from 4 by 6 meters to 6 by 10 meters. It is constructed of a wooden frame with gabled thatch roof and walls of woven bamboo. Khmer houses are typically raised as much as 3 meters on stilts for protection from annual floods. 2 ladders or wooden staircases provide access to the house. The steep thatch roof overhanging the house walls protects the interior from rain. Typically, a house contains 3 rooms separated by partitions of woven bamboo. The front room serves as a living room used to receive visitors. The next room is the parents' bedroom, and the third is for unmarried daughters. Sons sleep anywhere they can find space. Family members and neighbors work together to build the house, and a house-raising ceremony is held upon its completion. The houses of poorer persons may contain only a single large room. Food is prepared in a separate kitchen located near the house but usually behind it. Toilet facilities consist of simple pits in the ground, located away from the house, that are covered up when filled. Any livestock is kept below the house. Chinese and Vietnamese houses in Cambodian towns and villages are typically built directly on the ground and have earth and cement or tile floors, depending upon the economic status of the owner. Urban housing and commercial buildings may be of brick masonry or wood. Religion. Cambodia is predominantly Buddhist, with 90% of the population being Theravada Buddhists, 1% Christian, and the majority of the remaining population follow Islam, atheism, or animism. Buddhism has existed in Cambodia since at least the 5th century CE. Theravada Buddhism has been the Cambodian state religion since the 13th century CE, and is currently estimated to be the faith of 90% of the population. Islam is the religion of a majority of the Cham and Malay minorities in Cambodia. According to Podama, there were 150,000 to 200,000 Muslims in Cambodia as late as 1975. Persecution under the Khmer Rouge eroded the numbers, however, and by the late 1980s they probably had not regained the former strength. All of the Cham Muslims are Sunnis of the Shafi'i school. Podama divides the Muslim Cham in Cambodia into a traditionalist branch and an orthodox branch. Christianity was introduced into Cambodia by Roman Catholic missionaries in 1660. However, it made little headway at first, particularly among Buddhists. In 1972 there were probably about 20,000 Christians in Cambodia, most of whom were Roman Catholics. According to Vatican statistics, in 1953, members of the Roman Catholic Church in Cambodia numbered 120,000, making it, at the time, the second largest religion in the country. In April 1970, just before repatriation, estimates indicate that about 50,000 Catholics were Vietnamese. Many of the Catholics remaining in Cambodia in 1972 were Europeans, chiefly French. American Protestant missionary activity increased in Cambodia, especially among some of the hill tribes and among the Cham. After the establishment of the Khmer Republic, the 1962 census, which reported 2,000 Protestants in Cambodia, remains the most recent statistic for the group. Observers reported that in 1980 there were more registered Khmer Christians among the refugees in camps in Thailand than in all of Cambodia before 1970. Kiernan notes that, until June 1980, 5 weekly Protestant services were held in Phnom Penh by a Khmer pastor, but that they had been reduced to a single weekly service after police harassment. There are around 20,000 Catholics in Cambodia, which represents only 0.15% of the total population. There are no dioceses, but there are 3 territorial jurisdictions, 1 apostolic vicariate and 2 apostolic prefectures. Highland tribal groups, most with their own local religious systems, probably number fewer than 100,000 persons. The Khmer Lou have been loosely described as animists, but most tribal groups have their own pantheon of local spirits. In general, they see the world filled with various invisible spirits, some benevolent, others malevolent. They associate spirits with rice, soil, water, fire, stones, paths, and so forth. Sorcerers are specialists in each village, contact these spirits and prescribe ways to appease them. In times of crisis or change, animal sacrifices may be made to placate the anger of the spirits. Illness is often believed to be caused by evil spirits or sorcerers. Some tribes have special medicine men or shamans who treat the sick. In addition to belief in spirits, villages believe in taboos on many objects or practices. Among the Khmer Lou, the Raid and Jari groups have a well-developed hierarchy of spirits with a supreme ruler at its head. Ways of life. Birth and death rituals. The birth of a child is a happy event for the family, according to traditional beliefs. However, confinement and childbirth expose the family, and especially the mother and the child, to harm from the spirit world. A woman who dies in childbirth, crosses the river in Khmer, is believed to become an evil spirit. In traditional Khmer society, a pregnant woman respects a number of food taboos and avoids certain situations. These traditions remain in practice in rural Cambodia, but they have become weakened in urban areas. Death is not viewed with the great outpouring of grief common to Western society. It is viewed as the end of one life and as the beginning of another life that one hopes will be better. Buddhist Khmer usually are cremated and their ashes are deposited in a stupa in the temple compound. A corpse is washed, dressed, and placed in a coffin, which may be decorated with flowers and with a photograph of the deceased. White pennant-shaped flags, called white crocodile flags, outside a house indicate that someone in that household has died. A funeral procession consisting of Anaka Buddhist monks, members of the family, and other mourners accompanies the coffin to the crematorium. The spouse and the children show mourning by shaving the heads and by wearing white clothing. Relics such as teeth or pieces of bone are prized by the survivors, and they are often worn on gold chains as amulets. Childhood and adolescence. A Cambodian child may be nursed until 2 to 4 years of age. Up to the age of 3 or 4, the child is given considerable physical affection and freedom. Children around 5 years of age also may be expected to help look after younger siblings. Children's games emphasize socialization as skill rather than winning and losing. Most children begin school when they are 7 or 8. By the time they reach this age, they are familiar with the society's norms of politeness, obedience, and respect toward their elders and toward Buddhist monks. The father at this time begins his permanent retreat into a relatively remote, authoritarian role. By age 10, a girl is expected to help her mother in basic household tasks. A boy knows how to care for the family's livestock and can do farm work under the supervision of older males. Adolescent children usually play with members of the same sex. During his teens, a boy may become a temple servant and go on to serve a time as a novice monk, which is a great honor for the parents. In pre-communist days, parents exerted complete authority over the children until the children were married, and the parents continued to maintain some control well into the marriage. Age difference is strictly recognized with polite vocabulary and special generational terms for you. Courtship, marriage, and divorce. In Cambodia, premarital sex is deplored. The choice of a spouse is a complex one for the young male, and it may involve not only his parents and his friends, as well as those of the young woman, but also a matchmaker and a heira. In theory, a girl may veto the spouse her parents have chosen for her. Courtship patterns differ between rural and urban Khmer. Marriage as a culmination of romantic love is a notion that exists to a much greater extent in larger cities. A man usually marries between the ages of 19 and 25, a girl between the ages of 16 and 22. After a spouse has been selected, each family investigates the other to make sure its child is marrying into a good family. In rural areas, there is a form of bride service, that is, the young man may take a vow to serve his prospective father-in-law for a period of time. By tradition, the youngest daughter and her spouse are expected to live with and care for her aging parents and the land. The traditional wedding is a long and colorful affair. Formerly it lasted 3 days, but in the 1980s it more commonly lasted a day and a half. Buddhist priests offer a short sermon and recite prayers of blessing. Parts of the ceremony involve ritual hair cutting, tying cotton threads soaked in holy water around the bride's and groom's wrists, and passing a candle around a circle of happily married and respected couples to bless the union. After the wedding, a banquet is held. Newlyweds traditionally move in with the wife's parents and may live with them up to a year, until they can build a new house nearby. The majority of married Cambodian couples do not obtain legal marriage documents. Marriage is seen more as a social institution, regulated by societal pressures, expectations and norms, than a legal matter. This practice continues today. All that is necessary for a couple to be considered married by the community is to have a ceremony, after which a party is often held for family, friends and well-wishers to celebrate. This is how the overwhelming majority of Cambodian couples marry. Whether these traditional marriages are considered legal contracts by the government and courts is unclear. Therefore, when a couple separate, they likewise need not obtain divorce documents. Divorce is legal and relatively easy to obtain, but not common. Divorced persons are viewed with some disapproval. Each spouse retains whatever property he or she brought into the marriage, and jointly acquired property is divided equally. Divorced persons may remarry, but the woman must wait 10 months. Custody of minor children is usually given to the mother, and both parents continue to have an obligation to contribute financially toward the rearing and education of the child. The divorced male doesn't have a waiting period before he can remarry. The consequences of the social upheaval caused by the Cambodian Civil War is still being felt. At present there is variation in tradition from province to province. In Siem Reap, it is widely understood, for example, that the man takes the firstborn child upon separation. Men who leave the families typically do not support their other children, especially when they leave one woman for another woman. The new woman and her family will not accept children from a previous relationship. This is also an important source of the 70% or so of non-orphans living in fake orphanages around cities in Cambodia, which are tourist focal points. Social organization. Khmer culture is very hierarchical. The greater a person's age, the greater the level of respect that must be granted to them. Cambodians are addressed with a hierarchical title corresponding to the seniority before the name. When a married couple becomes too old to support themselves, they may invite the youngest child's family to move in and to take over running the household. At this stage in their lives, they enjoy a position of high status. The individual Khmer is surrounded by a small inner circle of family and friends who constitute his or her closest associates, those he would approach first for help. The nuclear family, consisting of a husband and a wife and their unmarried children, is the most important kin group. Within this unit are the strongest emotional ties, the assurance of aid in the event of trouble, economic cooperation in labor, sharing of produce and income, and contribution as a unit to ceremonial obligations. In rural communities, neighbors, who are often also kin, may be important too. Fictive child, parent, sibling, and close friend relationships. Cambodia transcend kinship boundaries and serve to strengthen interpersonal and interfamily ties. Beyond this close circle are more distant relatives and casual friends. In rural Cambodia, the strongest ties a Khmer may develop, besides those to the nuclear family and to close friends, are those to other members of the local community. A strong feeling of pride for the village, for the district, and province usually characterizes Cambodian community life. Legally, the husband is the head of the Khmer family, but the wife has considerable authority, especially in family economics. The husband is responsible for providing shelter and food for his family. The wife is generally in charge of the family budget, and she serves as the major ethical and religious model for the children, especially the daughters. Both husbands and wives are responsible for domestic economic tasks. Customs. In Khmer culture, a person's head is believed to contain the person's soul, therefore making it taboo to touch or point one's feet at it. It is also considered to be extremely disrespectful to use the feet to point at a person, or to sit or sleep with the soles of the feet pointing at a person, as the feet are the lowest part of the body and are considered to be impure. When greeting people are to show respect in Cambodia, people do the Sampia gesture, identical to the Indian Namaste and Tai Wai. Customary Cambodian teachings are laid out in verse form in long works from the 14th to 18th centuries, collectively called chap. These were traditionally learned by rote. Works such as the Chap Prose, Chap Sri and Chap Pikchas gave such advice as, a person that does not wake up before sunrise is lazy. A child must tell parents or elders where they go and what time they will return home. Always close doors gently, otherwise a bad temper will be assumed. Sit in a chair with the legs straight down and not crossed, and always let the other person do more talking. In Cambodia, it is not polite to make eye contact with someone who is older or someone who is considered a superior. Clothing in Cambodia is one of the most important aspects of the culture. Cambodian fashion differs according to ethnic group and social class. Khmer people traditionally wear a checkered scarf called a krama. The krama is what distinctly separates the Khmer from the neighbors, the Thai, the Vietnamese, and the Laotians. The scarf is used for many purposes, including for style, protection from the sun, an aid when climbing trees, a hammock for infants, a towel, or as a sarong. A krama can also be easily shaped into a small child's doll for play. Under the Khmer Rouge, krama of various patterns were part of standard clothing. The long popular traditional garment known as the sampots is an Indian-influenced costume which Cambodians have worn since the Funan era. Historically, Khmer clothing has changed depending on the time period and religion. For the Funan era to the Angkor era, there was a strong Hindu influence in Cambodian fashion which favored wearing sampots over the lower body and oftentimes nothing from the waist up, except jewelry including bracelets and collars such as the sarong core, a symbol of Hinduism. As Buddhism began to replace Hinduism, Khmer people started wearing the blouse, shirt and trousers of Khmer style. Khmer people, both common and royal, stopped wearing the Hindu-style collars and began to adopt beautiful decorated shawls such as sbai instead. This new clothing style was popular in the Udong period. In fact, a Khmer lady habitually chooses the right color for her sampots or blouse, both to please herself and to follow the costume of good luck. Some Cambodians still wear a religious style of clothing. Some Khmer men and women wear a Buddha pendant on a necklace. There are different pendants for different uses. Some are meant for protection from evil spirits. Some are meant to bring good luck. Otherwise, in the notable class, people in Cambodia, especially the royal caste, have adapted a well-known dress as well as expensive fashion style. Sampots is still well recognized among the royalty. Most royalty prefer sampots famong, a new version of sampots adapted by Thai people in the 17th century. Since the Udong period, most royalty have retained their dressing habits. Female royalty created the most attractive fashion. The lady always wears a traditional cape called sbai or rabai kanom, which is draped over the left shoulder, leaving the right shoulder bare. Rarely was the cape worn over the right shoulder. The sbai or rabai kanom would have been sumptuously fashioned in the old days in threads of genuine gold or silver. The cape in the old days would have hung down to the hem of the sampots. Dancers wear a collar known as sarong core around the necks. Importantly, they wear a unique skirt called sampot sara bhap, made from silk interwoven with gold or silver threads, forming elaborate and intricate designs that shimmer as the dancers move. This is held in place with a bejeweled belt. A multitude of jewelry is also worn by the female dancers. These include earrings, several pairs of bangles, a garland of flowers in the form of a bracelet, bracelets, anklets and an armlet that is worn on the right Several body chains cross over the body like a sash. A circular or diamond-shaped pendant is worn around the neck. There are several different types of moket worn by female royalty. The typical mokets that are worn are much similar to those of male royalty. Some crowns are just like tiaras, where at the back of the moket hair is let loose, cascading down the back. Other mokets have a few accessories such as earpieces that would sit above the ear and help hold the moket in place, while a comb at the back is just an added accessory. Flowers are also worn on the moket in the same style, but the hanging garlands of flowers are worn on the left and the bouquet is worn on the right. The best example of these royal clothes is illustrated by Khmer classical dance costumes, which are an adaptation of the beautiful royalty costume. Cuisine. Khmer cuisine is similar to that of its Southeast Asian neighbors. It shares many similarities with Thai cuisine, Vietnamese cuisine and Teochew cuisine. Cambodian cuisine also uses fish sauce in soups, stir-fried cuisine, and as dippings. The Chinese influence can be noted in the common chha and in the use of many variations of rice noodles. A particular popular dish of ultimately Chinese origin is pork broth rice noodle soup, similar to called kui taiyu. Indian-influenced dishes include many types of curry known as curry that call for dried spices such as star anise, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg and fennel, as well as local ingredients like lemongrass, garlic, kaffir lime leaves, shallots and galangal that give dishes a distinctive Cambodian flavor. Ban chao, the Khmer version of the Vietnamese ban xeo, is also a popular dish. Khmer cuisine is noted for the use of prahok, a type of fermented fish paste, in many dishes as a distinctive flavoring. When prahok is not used, it is likely to be karpi instead, a kind of fermented shrimp paste. Coconut milk is the main ingredient of many Khmer curries and desserts. Cambodians prefer either jasmine rice or sticky rice. The latter is used more in dessert dishes with fruit such as durian, while jasmine rice is eaten with meals. Almost every meal is eaten with a bowl of rice. Typically, Cambodians eat the meals with at least 3 or 4 separate dishes. Each individual dish will usually be one of either sweet, sour, salty, or bitter. Chili is usually left up to the individual to add themselves. In this way, Cambodians ensure that they get a bit of every flavor to satisfy the palates. Regional Cambodian cuisine offers some unique dishes influenced by the traditions of local ethnic groups. In Kampot and Kep, known for its Kampot pepper crab kdam chham rich kchei in Khmer. This dish is prepared with a local crab fried with the black pepper from area pepper fields. Kula people, an ethnic group of Palan province, originated mikola, a vegetarian rice stick noodle dish. In southeastern Cambodia, the influence of Vietnamese cuisine is strong, evidenced by Ban Trang, which is ubiquitous in southeastern Cambodia but virtually unknown elsewhere. The region between Siem Reap and Kampong Tom, an area with many Chinese Cambodians, displays Khmer versions of many Chinese dishes.